Right. So tonight, November 30th, this session is going to walk you through some of the things you need to do to finish out the year. And one of the things that you need to do is create a folder that you share with me that has a certain set of documents and observations in it. So I thought the easiest way to go about it would be to just show you an example and walk you through exactly what folders should be present, how all the documents should be labeled and formatted, and just give you like a very visual walkthrough of what the folder should look like, because it's pretty difficult, especially with distance, to kind of tell you exactly what it should look like. So the last slide of tonight's presentation is kind of a checklist, and you notice that it's broken into two different parts: first semester and second semester. First semester needs to have your cooperating teacher observations. Second semester needs to have your university supervisor observations, the remaining cooperating teacher observations, and then 4 basically forms, documents that need to be included. All right, so I'm going to walk you through an example of what it should look like when you submit it. The first thing you need to do is create a folder on your drive, and it should be labeled a very specific way. Your last name, a hyphen, your first name, a hyphen, and then your CSU student ID number. I changed the numbers out to stars to protect the anonymity of the student's student ID number, but yours should be your actual complete Stan State student ID number. When that folder is created, you can right click it and you can share it with anybody on the CSU Stan network. You need to share it with me, Jared Jeffries. I know that some of you have already done this, so if you have, you're all set. Some of you may have shared it with Dr. Riddle, which is totally fine, but anything that I go over in this presentation, you need to also share with me. I need all of this information, no matter what you sent to Dr. Riddle, because I will be the one to forward it on to credentials. So please make sure, even if you did some of this work previously with Dr. Riddle, you repeat it and make sure that it's shared with myself as well. So you have a folder, and it's your last name and your first name and your student ID number. Then within that folder, you're going to have 2 folders inside, and one's going to be labeled first semester and one's going to be labeled second semester. First semester is really easy. It's just going to be 2 cooperating teacher observations. So right there, CT observation number 1, CT observation number 2, in the form of PDF. First semester is pretty easy. Second semester gets a little trickier. Second semester should be broken down into 3 different folders. And the 3 folders should be supervisor observations, CT observations, and forms. When I open supervisor observations, I want to see 6 different PDFs. So university supervisor observation number 1, number 2, number 3, which is also the midterm, number 4, number 5, and number 6, which is also the final. Please do rename them so that they look like this. It's going to make it immeasurably easier for me to keep track of everything if you rename the PDFs, because usually when PDFs name themselves, it's just a series of random letters and numbers, and it's kind of a bunch of craziness. So make sure that they look like this when you submit them to me, please. The other folder, CT observations, should have observation number 1 and observation number 2 from your CT from second semester. Those are pretty straightforward. Probably the most difficult part of this is the forms folder. And inside the forms folder, I want to see the following: your log sheet for 4300. So when I open that up, the student has provided all of the documentation for professional development for 4300. Then you have 4400, and all the professional development is logged for 4400. Fantastic. Then there is the pedagogical skills form, which I think we're also calling the purple form this year. Make sure that you're on the correct one for your particular discipline. So you fill out a section if you're math, you fill out a different section if you're social studies, you fill out a different section if you're foreign language. So make sure that you're on the correct part of the pedagogical skills form. Then the bridging document. You have all been working on this. I don't know what happened with her formatting, but it's not the end of the world. I guess I could go back and retroactively dock her grade now that I noticed that. And then the last one, the thing that you are probably so ready to never look at again, is the Google Sheets, which is your record of clinical hours. And so basically it opens up with the master tally of all of your hours. And then along the bottom are all of the tabs that detail how those hours are accounted for. So real quick, it's a folder. Your last hyphen first name hyphen student ID number. And again, do not put stars in yours. I only did that to protect the anonymity of the student ID number. You should have first and second semester. In first semester, you should have your 2 CT observations. In second semester, you should have forms, CT observations, and supervisor observations. In supervisor observations, you should have 1 through 6. CT observations, you should have 1 and 2 for second semester. Forms, you should have your 4300 log sheet, your 44 log sheet, your pedagogical skills form, also called the purple form, your bridging document, and then your record of clinical hours. So I know that was quick, but I made the video obviously so that you could pause it and work through at your own pace. So thank you.